So we've coded our basic website or designed our basic website. Now it's time to do some housekeeping to make sure that everything looks the way that we want it to look. So the first thing that we are going to do is basically group everything together. So we're going to select this element, and these belong together, right? This is what we call the intro section. So we can group these by right-clicking and choosing group selection, or by typing Command G, which is what I will do in the future. And really importantly, give that group a name. So in this case, it's going to be called intro. This one and this one belong together. That's our header. So we can also group this and call it header. And then our gallery. And here we're sort of in a situation where we want to have groups inside of groups. So this one, and this one belong together. So that's our first item of our gallery. So I'm going to call that gallery item. And then same thing happens here. And in the next video, we'll talk about components, and we'll do it a bit differently, but this is a good starting way to do it. So these are two gallery items. So this would be gallery item 1 maybe, and gallery item 2. And this gallery item, including this text and these two gallery items, that by itself is the gallery. So we group that here and call that gallery. And then finally, we are also going to group these elements together, and that's going to be our footer. Cool. So that sort of goes into our whole site, and let's be some OCD about it. So we have these nice groups here of things that we can combine. Now, one thing that you notice once you press play here is if you start scrolling is one, we get that stupid nudge on the page. But the second thing is that I actually want this portfolio, this header, to be there always. So I'm going to change that around a little bit. Let's see if I can drag it up from here. No, that doesn't work, unfortunately. So I have to select all the groups using Shift Select, drag everything down a bit. Oops. If I select everything, drag everything down a bit so I can make my header a bit bigger to compensate for that notch. Now, I'm not sure if that actually happens if I'm making a web page, but I'm just making sure that it works here. What I want to show you is that the header scrolls along, and I want the header to be fixed. So what I can do here is when I click on the header is choose this button which says fix position when scrolling, and by clicking that fixes my header. And you see that now my homepage is actually divided up into two parts: the fixed parts that always stay in place, and the parts that scroll, so the parts that always scroll under. And you can see that if we go back to our portfolio here, see that our header stays the same, and then we can scroll everything below it. And also probably should make this a bit lower here. If I want to change an element that's inside of a group, what I can do is I need to double click. So I click once to select the group, and then double click to select that element in the group. I can also do it from the sidebar, but it's important to know. Okay, so now it's stuck there, and it doesn't influence the notch at all, which is nice. And finally, for this video, what I also want to do is change the name of this project, because this is just called Untitled. So I can just click this name and call this my web page prototype. And that allows me to see that. So that's it for this video. In the next video, we're going to talk about components.